Well, Matt Timmons here, Timberwolf Firewood processing equipment. Got a whiteboard. I got some things. Had an opportunity to test a competing machine a few weeks back and kind of made some stark conclusions I wasn't really aware of. So we've got our Pro NP XL with an integrated conveyor. List price is $59,995. We did the video with a 6-way wedge. I think that adds like $400 or $500, but let's call it $60,000 for now. And in that video, and I've repeated this, many times, actually done faster, but apples to apples, day to day, did 1.75 cords per hour with that machine. On the competing machine, list price on that is $98,500. Now ours that we were competing wasn't brand new, so it didn't have an auto cycle valve, and I'm pretty sure this competing machine has an auto cycle valve now. So that might actually bring, that was a big part of the slow, so that might bring these two numbers closer together. But we did the test, that's what it is. So 98.5 is the beginning, and then this one had a conveyor and an 8-way wedge, which I think are optional. I think I've seen before that like the list price on that as it's set up is like $105,000 to $110,000, but I know it's advertised at 98.5. So again, the MPXL at 60,000 with 38 horsepower gas, does 1.75 cords per hour. The unnamed competitors, got to get my little apostrophe in there, competitors machine, over $100,000 is a little bit slower. By a little bit, that's a quarter cord an hour. That actually would add up pretty good over, like, if you ran it for 100 hours in a year, that's another, $3,000, $4,000 in revenue at a minimum. So we got to ask the question here, why, right? Because obviously this unnamed competitor builds a great machine, sells a lot of these machines. And so what makes the difference? Like, what circumstances did we see in that test that makes our machine so much more competitive? Well, after running that competitor's machine some, I really figured it out. It's log handling. That is where, and then aerogonomics. Not sure if that's how you spell that. So what do I mean by that? So we're down 11 horsepower. This is gas horsepower, so got less torque response. So like just pure power wise, they both had 5-inch cylinders. They're pretty comparable machines. Frame size wise, they both had about a 16-foot trough. They both had about a 6-foot live deck. Very similar in that respect. 38 horsepower should have lost to 49 horsepower all day, but it didn't. Ergonomics are a big thing of that. The controls are more ergonomic. It's easier to get into resplit on the MP. That's that's the first thing I noticed. So that's that taken care of there. Log handling. Now this is a big win. The MP has our patented top roll clamping system. And so that really allows you to do is, once that log gets into there, you have full control of that log. There's no slipping. It advances, period. So you can go cut, and then you can hit the auto cycle on the splitter. That's going to go out, and it'll do a thing all by itself without having to worry about it. So while the splitter's doing its thing, you simply advance the log, and it advances pretty quick. And once the log hits your length you want, you start sawing right away. You don't have to worry about the auto cycle. And then the fully encapsulated push block, or boxed push block, or something like that, push tube, I'll call it. That there means you don't even have to worry about if you drop the log too soon, no big deal. It simply rides on top of that push block and then falls in the chamber. With the competitor's machine, you can really screw some stuff up if you drop that block too soon. So you got to pay a lot more attention to the block. But the log handling, that is the difference. And then the final one is saw dog or log dog, depending on, people call it different. On the competing machines, and this goes to almost every competing machine, You got to have your saw dog come down, and then you can start sawing. With our patented top roll clamping system, the top roll is acting as your saw dog, and it stays in float. So you will cut as soon as that saw bar is up. Immediately you can advance the log forward. You're not waiting for the log or the saw dog to lift up. And then as soon as you have the length, you can start cutting again. You don't have to wait for the saw dog to come down before you can start cutting. So that is what gains us with far less power and far less money up front. That gets you increased performance. Now, if we were to go to our competing machine, which would be the MP diesel, we're still well under the price of our unnamed competitor. And I believe in 2024 we have the same horsepower. We're both running 56 horsepower diesel engines, and you know, we're going to be well in excess of 2.5 cords per hour here, where they're going to be at their 1.5 cords per hour. And now we're apples to apples up here. What it is, it's log handling with that aggressive front roller, and then the saw dog not having a saw dog, and then your ergonomics, being able to just fly through it without having to worry about breaking the machine. Those give you that higher performance. And then the final thing that we got to look at here is the simplicity of the machine. If you look at the Timberwolf machine, we have simple hydraulics. So with this unnamed competitor, the saw bar moves slowly, and it is pretty much, I'm not saying it's impossible, it's pretty much impossible to stall the saw. But that also means once it hits the wood, it's going to travel through that wood at the same speed regardless of species and diameter. They do that with some complicated hydraulic magic or trickery. I really don't even know how it works, but the bulk of it is just they have their saw moving real slow. With the Timberwolf, you have full control over the speed of your saw bar. So you can lift your saw bar up really fast and bring it to work really fast, and then using the thing between your ears, your brain, you control the valve, and you can push through like a small little piece of ash. You can make that thing fly through that piece of ash. And then, you know, through big piece of oak, you do need to feather that blade going through. But that means you can cut through softer woods faster than you can cut through hardwoods, where on our most competing machines, they accomplish the same thing by just setting everything up for the worst case scenario, so everything moves slower. So that also costs you processing time, but the other thing is it costs you reliability. With the simple hydraulics, we don't have a lot of fancy cartridges and things that are susceptible to having debris in it. So you have a more reliable, easier to work on machine 5-10 years down the road when things start to go south. You know, anybody with a brain can figure out how the hydraulics work on a Timberwolf. So, end of the day, this is a hard sales pitch. A full frame processor that can outperform a diesel for 60% or less of the cost. This is the price with the conveyor. Without the conveyor, you can get in this machine for $54,995, and you know, this is low in the output you can get from it. We've done some videos and done some tests. We're well in excess of 2 cords per hour. For $54,995, you combine it with the aggressive feed trough chain, the top roll, patented top roll clamping system, big live deck chain, easy towing, you know, tows down the road, good tongue weight because we got a conveyor that folds over center. You know, really good price on that. Why do people pay $98,000 for this unnamed competitor's machine? Well, I imagine this company has a great reputation. Been around for a long time, probably. We'll make that assumption, I don't know. They've got a big conveyor, big old conveyor, man. I mean, that thing sticks up there. That's real happy to see, if you know what I mean. So we got a big old conveyor. So yeah, definitely they got us beat with the conveyor, hands down. Fancy hydraulics. Some people really get off on fancy hydraulics. So I have to imagine that has something to do with it. You know, the not having to think about running the saw, that's a good advantage. So they got fancy hydraulics there. And then diesel. We all love a diesel. You know, you get better torque response, and that's a cat. diesel. I might give way too much on the unnamed competitor, but whatever, it's a cat diesel. So that's probably why people are paying this kind of money. You know, from my standpoint, you know, definitely like their conveyor. Big conveyor makes it easy. I would say that the conveyor on the Pro MP, you know, it's pretty small. It's not up to par. But again, the price is there. It's still a good conveyor. You can also buy it without the conveyor, save the money, and then buy one of our big stacking conveyors. So it will load most dump trailers and pickup trucks. But yep, they got the conveyor there. They probably have a great reputation is what I tried to write there. And then fancy hydraulics, you know, for me, that really doesn't do it. Diesel, you know, yep, that is there, but that brings you a lot of extra cost. And our diesel, just so you can compare it, Pro MP diesel runs for, I want to say, pretty sure that is $59,995 without a conveyor. And it's $64,995 with a conveyor. And then in the same test, I guarantee you we've been 2.5 cords per hour. So again, the diesel, you know, really isn't a thought because the price of this is still far less than that. So that's probably why people buy these machines. I think you should buy our machine. It's a better value. It's one of the best processors on the market. When you get into squirrely wood, there's nothing better than a Timberwolf to pull that through and split firewood. So that's my hard sales pitch for the week, guys. Buy a Pro MP XL or a Pro MP diesel. Probably the best money you're going to spend to process firewood, hands down. Don't care what is. And let me tell you this, in the comments, if any of you guys got another unnamed competitor's machine, I would love to come out with either an MP XL or an MP diesel and go head to head with you in your woodlot. You let us know. I will be there. I'll bring a camera guy. We'll set her up. You feed the wood, and we'll see who wins. Because, you know, maybe I'm wrong and I'm just full of shit. Who knows? But anyhow, thanks for watching. Enjoy the snow. Merry Christmas.